Okay, tell us about your leadership qualities, right? So each of you, I think we've seen so far how you each have a unique approach to things. Some of it is based on your specific training, some of it is based on your life experiences, on your personalities. But tell us about the leadership qualities that you're most proud of. And then how early on did you realize that these were the tools that you were using to help you achieve your success?
Well, I think, and I don't remember, somebody alluded to this earlier. I think one of my best qualities is that I found talented people and surrounded myself with really smart, good people, and then allowed them to do their job. I think that, knowing your people and knowing their strengths and weaknesses and helping them to shore up their weaknesses, utilize their strengths. I thought it was interesting on one of your earlier podcasts, Patrick talked about a school that his company sent him to for, what was it, a year? I thought that was amazing to invest into the potential of someone. You recognize that they have talent and invest in that person. I like to think I did that with Annette. So, but it's just important to know your people and to surround yourself with good people. But you also have to have the ability to look people in the eye, like Annette said, and tell them when they're not quite meeting the mark. And you can work through some of those things. You can help them fix some of those things if they're willing. But sometimes you just have to say, "I'm sorry, you're not qualified to do this." And of course, in the military, that means people's lives. Sometimes in the corporate world, it may mean customers or other things. But it's still important. It's important to make the team as strong as you can, and then reward them.
Thank you. Annette, what about you?
I agree with Mary because you can't succeed in anything without the people helping you. It's not anything you're doing in life. You don't ever really accomplish it by yourself, right? You accomplish it by the people around you that help in little and big ways. I think probably early on, I realized that for me to get out of the socioeconomic background that I was living, is that I had to persevere. Right? It's like, don't give up, even though other people say, you'll never be able to do that, or just do what Joe's doing down the road, or Sally, it's fine. That's fine for them, but that's not what I want. So sometimes I think early on I realized that it's probably not a good word, but it's grit, right? You just have to dig in and follow your path. And even if everybody thinks it's the wrong path, it's your path. If it's the wrong path, then you'll write it later. And so by doing that, that's how I ended up going to college. That's how I ended up going into the Army and then going to higher education. And none of that would have been done if I just didn't listen to my inner voice, or, try to be authentic for what I was trying to do. So I think grit and perseverance, even if you're not the smartest person in the room, you're going to learn by your lessons. You're going to fail a bunch of times, and you just have to pick yourself up and keep going, and you're going to get it right eventually. And so I am a strong believer in that. In the military, soldiers make big mistakes. Patrick admitted he was young, he made a big mistake. And I think that gave me a little more compassion, right? They're still going to get an earful from me on it. I'm not going to, dance around it, but I'll probably give them a choice, right? You can do this hard task and get yourself back on the right track, or there's the door. And so give people an option. And so from that, and I don't know the right words to say on this second one, is you get grit and perseverance, but also, even if you have that tough love, which Mary gave all of us, it was not always, it was a hard environment, but it was still positive. You can care for your team and not be weak, right? Caring and loving your soldiers or your team is not this weird, squishy, feely, you're weak thing. It is that commitment of, you see all of them. Your superstars, they shine every day. But what about the one that, is struggling or super introverted? I work to see them. and let them know I see them. They're on this team in a different role, but they're still on this team. And, I was trying to get my head around that concept. And I literally, because this is what I do, there's a master chief for years, a senior NCO, he's like a bedrock of, wisdom to me, or, always let me know when he thinks I'm going off trail. I actually sent him a note over, what would you say, is one of my leadership traits? And, I said, and he said, well, what do you think they are? Because that's typical, right? He's not going to give me an answer. He's going to make me Socratically go through, and it cracked me up. And last night I'm texting him at like 2 a.m, and I said, okay, grit and perseverance. And that we can care about the people, the good and the bad, everything that goes with it. And that's what made us a great team every time, like, he and I worked together. And he said, I think you just hit the nail on the head. And I thought, okay, there you go. We'll get into mentoring, and I'm sure talking about people's influence in our lives, but that kind of dialogue last night sort of brought like 3 different things together, right? As far as the people you trust, the people you've served with, how do you treat other people? How do you not make it not all about yourself? And you're always trying to get a sounding board over, am I looking at this right? Or I'm just saying a characteristic of myself that you're like, heck no, this is what we see. Get that really candid feedback. So that's, I'm sure there are other things Patrick and Mary will throw out, they think, but those were like the 2 that stuck in my head, as far as that I recognize those as early elements of how do I get from A to Z. Might not take the right path, but how do you get there, and what are some of the things that will help us get to that point?
I love that you used the word grit, Annette, because, and I'm looking somewhere behind me on my bookshelf, I'll find the book, but there's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. She's a psychologist. She also did a TED Talk that was very, very popular, got like bajillions of views. And she calls out grit as an essential building block of success, right? Some people have it naturally. Sometimes it comes from less than ideal circumstances, right? Overcoming adversity, right? Dealing with very difficult situations that maybe some people would not have chosen. But grit is definitely such an indicator of success. So Bella will put the book in the show notes, but I'm curious to hear what you think of that once you get a chance to review it.